Hello, welcome back. It's America Under Distress, America Under Siege. I had a couple days off here from the scholarship announcement. I feel very positive about that. So there will be a scholarship for North Canton Hoover High School and Eau Gallie High School. So any of my former students that are going to, somebody going to school now that's going to graduate in the end of the year, that'll be there for them to apply to. Check with the administration. They'll get the requirements there in January. So by the time you graduate, you'll know the requirements for it. Put your name in there for Eau Gallie High School. Same thing goes for North Canton Hoover High School, the Bill Moore Citizenship Scholarship. I'm also thinking about doing some more scholarships, but like I said, the first year has been taken care of. But I want to make sure this scholarship is long-standing for many, many years, for even after I pass away, so that I can provide a scholarship, a little helping hand for students that graduate. And I'm planning on, hopefully, if everything works out, possibly set up some more scholarships for graduates that have already graduated from both of those schools to apply as well for this one this year. And this scholarship, these two are set up for people that are graduating at the end of this year. And this scholarship will stay 2001, 2022. Then for people that are graduating, I do have plans to set up scholarships that men and women that have already graduated, to give them a little helping hand as well for both schools. And that's coming down the road, but I'm just proud that we have that out here. We're at 23 subscribers, not even 2 months. We have 1,400, maybe 1,411 views. I'm very proud of that. Thank you for all your support, but this video is more back down to basics of why I started this channel. I named it America Under Distress, America Under Siege. What is causing us stress? What is causing, we're constantly attacked, under siege. That's why I picked the name and the title. So, the 6 areas that I mentioned, I'm not going to keep doing this over and over again, but it's been a couple weeks since I actually mentioned them, so I'm going to just restate them very shortly. After World War II, we came a constant attack from the Soviets and communist forces and people that wanted us to not survive. Also, we've been under attack since the inception of our country, but that's back in 1775 and before that, of why we became a nation in the first place. But mainly the biggest attack was after World War II. It was a concentrated effort from the Soviets, the Chinese, and all these other companies, and actually companies too. There's a reason why I said that, and countries. And they were basically religion, education, social life, government systems, law enforcement, and labor relations. This one here, which is mainly talking about race and ethnicity, I'm going to first show you 2 videos about, one of them is Kamala Harris Family Tree, which is the name of the show, and then also identity politics that I showed before when it came to left versus right. One video is about 3 minutes long, the other video is about 9 minutes, but I'm not going to show you all of them. Just pieces of them, because I got commentary that come from other sources, which I'll put in the links there too. So if you learn anything from this video, if you consider yourself a free thinker in this video, if you know someone that you think would enjoy this channel, put the like, subscribe, and share it so that this channel can keep growing, so we can keep supporting these good causes, these scholarships as well. So, but today will be about Kamala Harris's family tree. This nation is a nation of immigrants. And depending on what side you're on, which drives me crazy, they have different ways of dealing with that. The Civil War was based on race, slavery, that unconscionable, inhumane practice of slavery, of other people owning other human beings. It just blows me away that somebody else had the right at that time to own somebody else, to dictate their life. As being born on July 4th, 1958, I can't fathom that somebody would treat people the way they treated people. And even today, when I see things on the news and see things around the world, it just blows me away. But again, I'll talk about identity politics. I'll talk about family tree of Kamala Harris and policy today. And I'll get down to it. I hope you enjoy the video, and please enjoy the 2 videos, Identity Politics and Kamala Harris Family Tree.
America is more divided than it's been in decades. Getting along with those who disagree on politics has become difficult, tearing families and communities apart. It seems like now, politics isn't just about what you think, but who you are. It's personal. We've seen this feeling cause growing extremism on both ends of the political spectrum. The events in Charlottesville, Virginia, showed the ability of white nationalists to assemble off the internet and into the real world. Earlier that same summer, left-wing extremists essentially shut down Evergreen State College because a white professor dared show up on a day white people were asked to be absent from campus. And it seems like left-wing and right-wing extremists are just getting the other side even more riled up. There's a name for this problem, and it's called identity politics. Identity politics is the tendency for people of a particular race, religion, gender, or ethnicity to organize politically around that special interest for the sole purpose of advancing that interest without concern or regard for any larger group or collective.
Without
You might
concern.
ask, what's so bad about identity politics? You wouldn't care about identity politics if it was your identity group being discriminated against. This is a misunderstanding of what identity politics is. There is a time for identities to come together when they are being discriminated against as a class.
Exactly.
But the goal of these movements are only ethical when they seek to remove the political impact of identity, not enforce it. The Civil Rights Movement is a great example. The Civil Rights Movement was not identity politics. It was about destroying identity politics.
Exactly.
Creating a society where we'd see people as individuals rather than members of groups. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr.,
"Because I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today."
That's not in line with the recent push on the left to create black-only dorms at colleges, or women-only film screenings, or spaces without white people. Nor is it in line with those on the right who believe America should be a Christian-only nation, or want to mandate gender roles, and obviously not those who want a white ethno-state. Let's treat other identities as we would have them treat us.
Thank you.
There's beauty in different people with different ideas and of different backgrounds coming together to form America. But when it comes to politics and policy, let's treat people as people.
There is Donald Harris. He was born in Jamaica, but immigrated to the U.S., where he became a professor of economics at Stanford University. According to Professor Harris, the two individuals who had the biggest influence on him during his upbringing in Jamaica were his two grandmothers, known as Miss Crishy and Miss Iris. Miss Crishy owned and operated a dry goods store in Brownstown. The name Brownstown comes from its founder, Hamilton Brown, an Irish slave owner, who, according to Donald, was an ancestor of Crishy Brown. This fact made the rounds last year when several far-right media outlets tried to make Kamala Harris look like a hypocrite by claiming that her Jamaican ancestors were a bunch of slave owners. Here's the thing. Like I mentioned in my video on Berry Gordy, most Black Americans have at least one white male somewhere on their family tree because of the sad fact that during the period of American slavery, slavers often raped females whom they enslaved. But this doesn't change the fact that far more people on their tree were likely on the other side of that equation, as enslaved individuals of African descent. So how these facts are supposed to make Kamala look bad is beyond me. Anyhow, let's now look at the other side of her family. Her mother is Shyamala Gopalan. She was born in Chennai, India, but like Donald, immigrated to the US. The two actually met during their graduate studies at UC Berkeley, and they were both involved in the US Civil Rights Movement. But whereas Donald studied economics, Shyamala studied medicine and became a cancer researcher. As I mentioned in my recent video on the Marathas, India is more of a continent than a country, and therefore there's not really a single ethnicity known as Indian. In Shyamala's case, it would be more accurate to say that her ethnicity was Tamil. This means that ethnically, Kamala is half Tamil. However, according to Kamala herself, she primarily identifies simply as black, which brings me to the topic of race and ethnicity. Race is often something that is defined by racism and society's tendency to racialize people. This is why we end up with complicated issues such as passing and discussions on whether so-and-so is black enough. So, am I saying that we should be blind to race? Absolutely not. Ignoring race would be ignoring the fact that some people still get treated differently than other people simply because of social constructs related to skin color. This is Tree. Her maternal grandfather was named P.V. Gopalan. He was a lifelong civil servant, holding major government positions in both India and Zambia. He, along with his wife and children, were Hindus, and therefore Kamala grew up attending a Hindu temple as well as a Black Baptist church. Today, Kamala identifies primarily as Christian. However, she also has ties to Judaism. That's because in 2014, she married Douglas Emhoff, a Jewish lawyer. He has a son and a daughter from a previous marriage, and so although Kamala has not had any children of her own, she does have 2 stepchildren. As for siblings, Kamala has one sister named Maya, who is married to Tony West. Maya, like Kamala, became a lawyer and is currently also an MSNBC contributor. Tony, also a lawyer, was Associate Attorney General under Barack Obama and currently is the Chief Legal Officer for Uber. Maya has a daughter named Mina, who was born when Maya was in high school. Tony is her stepdad. She, like the rest of the family, is a lawyer, but recently she also authored a book called Kamala and Maya's Big Idea. So that was a look at the family tree of Kamala Harris.
Well, I hope you enjoyed those 2 little videos, but also I put in the identity politics first, which I did show before on the video, which is left versus right, about the problem we have with identity politics, which it ties big time to this topic of race and ethnicity. And that's why I picked Kamala Harris. One, because I had a request for it, because I did Joe Biden's and I wanted to do Kamala Harris as well, and then it fits with the topic that I'm trying to do. As in the identity politics, unfortunately, we vote people based on that identity politics. I understand why they do it. I understand that people have shared beliefs, cultures, ethnicity, colors, genders, all those things that they mention in identity politics. And then the family tree of Kamala Harris is why some people vote there. But unfortunately, you should not vote for somebody just on their identity, or a race, a group of people, or a religion that they hold, or whatever the case may be of why you break it down to decide. You should decide on that person based on the policy of what he or she is trying to perform for your country, okay? Is it better for all Americans, or is it better for just a group of people? I'm going to go back to my history myself. Just as a history teacher, why I thought I was good at being a history teacher, because my father was, his last name is Chitros. He came from a conservative family. My grandfather, my dad's dad, was called Doc Chitros. He was an eye doctor. He was conservative. He actually was a marksman. He was a member of the NRA. But then my mother's side is called Dempsey, which is Irish. Okay, they were hardworking, blue collar. My grandfather Fred Dempsey was actually a bricklayer. He built buildings around Ferguson, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, and the surrounding areas. They worked hard. Then also my grandfather eventually had his own business, and I remember a story he told me about that. I said, what's going on with? What do you think about all this political stuff? And it was going on when he was there. He says, I don't care. And this also was coming from my mother. He said he didn't care what race you were, as long as you did the job. there were several times where my mom told me this in many statements. This is probably one of the most touching ones for me, is that his crew from his bricklaying business basically wanted to spend the night. They were going from one job to another job. They needed to spend a night in a hotel. And at this hotel, they would not let them stay at this hotel unless you kicked out the African-American guy. My grandfather told me, and my mom told me, verified this as well, I'm not staying here. He's all my crew. He works hard. He deserves to eat and sleep with everybody else. That's exactly what my mom said. That's exactly what my grandpa Fred said. I was so proud of that because I haven't seen too much of racism and prejudice to me. I have had discrimination against me, but not for those issues, but I've had it. In hiring, weight issues I've had over the years. I've been discriminated against, but not to this degree of what we're talking about in race and ethnicity. Okay, I wanted to share that, but that's who I am. So I was a human being, and my grandfather's employee at the time, he was a human being. He wasn't this person. He wasn't that person. That's nauseating to me. Same thing with my grandfather on my father's side. Okay, he was the same way. And my grandmother, which is Dort, she was an editor in a newspaper. And she told me several times before she passed away in her mid-90s, never trust the media. That's another topic, though. But basically, that's how we seem to be voting. All your commercials on your channels is about when you're watching for an election, first African-American potential vice president, this person is of this color, this is of this gender, nasty ads, positive ads. In other words, identity politics first, policy later, okay? And it's always attack ads. Like I said, I personally don't care what race you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what you believe. As long as it has one thing in common, you make your decision as an elected official for the benefit of all Americans. All Americans, period, exclamation mark. You don't put one over the other. And if you do, you need to go. Okay, you're all human beings. Next one. I'm going to briefly go over some of the topics of why race and ethnicity is so important. I'll put the link for the videos that I just showed, and so that you can check out the whole article. It's this one right here. I'll put the link for the videos and the link for this article. So I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to cover the main topics of race and ethnicity. The basic definition of race is race refers to a person's physical characteristics such as bone structure and or skin, hair, or eye color. Ethnicity, however, refers to cultural factors including nationality, regional culture, ancestry, and language that they share. That's the difference. Okay? And it's just physical characteristics. But the person inside are the same. Why do you have to put this person is different because of any one of those factors? That's a guy in front of you. That's a woman in front of you. Period. It doesn't matter if what they like. It doesn't matter what they do in their private homes. It doesn't matter what they think when they go to church. It's their thinking choice. And I'm sick of you people, sorry, I'm sick of people out there saying, I'm better than you for whatever reason. There's some examples I'm going to give you of people that tried to do that over the course of the years. Okay, I just did it. These are important in these main categories on this article by definition. Why is it so significant to that person? Okay, next one will be genealogy, which is what I just showed you with Kamala Harris. That's where she came from. I don't care where she came from. Okay, dad's from Jamaica, mother's from India. She's an American citizen because she was born here. That's the law. But what you saw in the election wasn't that. It was all identity politics, labeling people a certain way. And that's why identity politics and this stuff is so important and divisive at the same time. Okay? positive that you want to promote your culture. Okay, let's keep going with some of these other categories. The distinguishing characteristics in both contexts. Nationalism. This is what I'm going to read specifically, and I'm going to go in more further detail here. Nationalism. In the 19th century, there was a development of political ideology of ethnic nationalization, creating nations based on presumed shared ethnic origins. Okay? And under ethnicity, in the 19th century, the concept of nationalism was often used to justify the domination of one race over another. What is the first thing that comes to your mind of dominating one race over another? Probably the biggest one that I can think of right off the top of my head is Nazi Germany. They single-handedly blamed everything against the Jews of the area and the time. It was all their fault. They were not supposed to be treated as a human being, which is total garbage, total insanity. And I don't like the S word, stupidity. I don't like it. It just drives me crazy that somebody can think they're better than somebody else. And then there's other cases of ethnicity and race fights all over the world. In our country, Civil War, Europe, England, Henry VIII, Protestant versus Catholic, Bloody Mary, which is the oldest daughter, Elizabeth I, which is a Protestant. She carried on the traditions of her father. Her father only did it because he wanted to divorce his wife, Catherine of Aragon. Okay? Because she didn't give him a son, even though technically and biologically, it's the male that decides the sex of the child, not the female. But in those days, it was a male-dominated world, and in some sense, it still is. So, there's other cases. Pakistan and India. Pakistan and India, after their becoming an independent nation, India from Great Britain or United Kingdom, whatever you want to call it, there was the country of Pakistan was created based on race, and India stayed one race, nationality, and ethnicity. Pakistan was another, and thousands upon thousands of people died because of that. There's case after case after case when it comes down to it. So too many people have died over this stuff. Okay, and the next category is the legal system. There's legal definitions based on race and ethnicity. I'm going to read you those two. The first one is for race. Often for the legal system. In the last decades of the 20th century, the United States and in most nations, and the legal system as well as the official ideology prohibited ethnic-based discrimination. Okay, ethnicity side, in the last decades of the 20th century, the legal system as well as an official ideology emphasized racial equality. Yes, and you should. Racial equality. Okay, but again, I'm going to come to this a little bit later. They're all human beings. You don't need for racial equality. We have equal protection under the law. Okay, I'm a purist when it comes to the Constitution, but I understand there needs to be laws that protect people from discrimination. 13, 14, and 15 amendment. I'm going to start a series of things that talk about the amendments to the Constitution. The 13, 14, and 15th Amendment was supposed to give rights to African Americans. They were actually given right to vote before women, which they really didn't, because after the death of the assassination of Lincoln, birth of the KKK, black codes, all those silly laws. That's being nice about it. I'm not going to use the S word again. The insane rules that they basically had to have a literacy test if they couldn't read, write, calculate, they couldn't vote, or you didn't, a poll tax. I'm going to get into those issues later on, but those are crazy. It's insane. You're all equal. I've already talked about ethnicity, and only one or two more things I'm going to cover. This is very worth stating. Okay, all these things are based on race and ethnicity are highly subjective. It is what that person thinks of the other. It's subjected to what he or she thinks. Okay? So people writing these laws for you are basing it on their beliefs of what this person should or should not get. Okay? Everybody should get the same thing equally under the law and the codes of the United States. Period. Nothing different. And also, too, we're a land of immigrants. We the people, in order to more form a perfect union, rights, liberties, and all those. I'm paraphrasing, I'm telling you off the top of my head. When it comes down to it, pursuit of happiness. Pursuit of happiness doesn't mean race. Pursuit of happiness doesn't mean color. It doesn't mean sex. It means people. People. Not that other labels that we love to put on people. Okay? And I have to say this too. My wife is Filipino. Love her to death. Best thing that ever happened to me. Beautiful woman, strong woman. Much rather be with a strong woman than a weak one. It's a much better relationship. So she's Asian, she's Filipino. She's proud of her culture. She's proud of her country. And she's proud to be a Kapuso. Okay, that's on one of the channels in the Philippines. Proud to be a Kapuso. I'm actually proud to be married to a Kapuso. You love your country, you love yourself, you love Filipinos. On your documents, even on the census, it has nationalities. Remember that? Asian. Asian, very simplified on the forms. And it usually says, even in this article, Southeast Asia, Asians, China, things like that. But what about China, Korea, Japan, things like that? But if you're from Thailand, you consider you're a Thai. If you're from Malaysia, you consider yourself Malaysian. If you're from the Philippines, you consider yourself Filipino. That's recognizing their culture. Okay? That's you can name all these other countries. Okay? Malaysia, the Philippines, what's right next to them? Australia. Aren't they Asian? No, they're not. Because of what? See the problems here? Okay? I just had to put that out there. So when it comes down to it, there's another word I have to get into until I close this video. It's called human beings. I'm a human being. I was born on July 4th, 1958 in St. Louis, Missouri. Okay? My other sisters were born in St. Louis. My other sister was born in Lawton, Oklahoma. They're Americans. That's it. They're human beings. When you make policy, when you vote for people, it should not come down to race or ethnicity. It should come down to this man or this woman or this politician does the most and the best for all of American people, not one group over another. You don't make a policy that takes care of one group over another. We have laws in this country for fair and just practices, and there's no prejudice, there's no discrimination. You should not set up a policy to right the wrongs of something else. The laws are there. They want to distract you. The American people are the American people. The American people came here from somewhere else. People of color were not born here. They were born somewhere else. Everybody was born somewhere else and came here. The melting pot. The only ones that was not born here, that was born here, was the Indians, and look how we treated them. We pushed them off their land. Okay? Don't think race. Don't think ethnicity. Don't think gender. Don't think that. Think the betterment of the American people. I know that's a lofty idea. I know that's difficult to do, and it may never happen. I may not live to see that time where this country actually gets along and fights all the time. We are stuck in this mode right now. Our country is tearing itself apart. And that's why I named this channel America Under Distress, America Under Siege. And this is one section for it. So that's basically the end of this. And I have to say, even though I've been pretty pessimistic in some parts of this video, I just want you to think about this. I want you to go out there, find information, be more informed. But again, I have to state before I finish talking about this area in this section of this video, don't just go out there and look at something that's going to confirm what you already believe. Go out there and think for yourself, and go and look into the other guy's side, other guys and other woman's side of our point of view. I said this in other videos. When I was in college, I used to debate the other side that I originally believed in. I'm going to just give you a case in point. Let's say I support abortion. Okay, I'm just saying, let's say I support abortion. Okay, I would deliberately debate the other side against a person. Why did I do that? I did that for one basic reason, to understand their side. Okay, and as I kept doing that through college, I mellowed out. And in some areas, I got more conservative. In some areas, I got less conservative. I moved towards the middle. I shifted, because the more you learn about the American experience, or the human experience for that matter, you're a better person for it. You're a better person for understanding the other side. We don't do that anymore. It's Republicans' fault. It's Democrats' fault. It's racist fault. It's ethnicity's fault. We play this game too much. And we're always trying to blame somebody. Okay? Accountability is important. We got corruption all over the place in Washington, D.C., and nothing's being done about it. I sent out on the page the members of the Ethics Committee for the House of Representatives. I'm going to send out other offices so you can check them out. Go to these elected officials and tell them to do their freaking jobs. There's corruption everywhere. Period. And why are they not being held accountable? There's another show that I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you something. There is 100 senators. There's 435 members of the House of Representatives. They get a salary, they get a benefit package that will blow you away. Eventually I'm going to do a show on that. We're going to calculate that basic math, how much it costs this country every year to pay these people. And you don't have the same opportunities as they do. They should have the same opportunities and the same health care as everybody else. But you look into that topic, check it out for yourself. You don't get the same opportunities now. You should. Okay? You change the healthcare system, people making the law should be able to pay for it too. Should be able to pay for it and get whatever they want. Okay? Just because you make a lot more money, I choose not to do that. The next thing you know, you get better care. Everybody should get the same care. You get sick, you have a heart attack, and you don't get the same care because you have one insurance and the other people don't. Okay, I'm blending topics here, and I don't want to confuse things too much. But when it comes down to it, everybody's equal inside. Pigmentation is just pigmentation. Your sex is just your sex. So I'm going to stop there. But again, if you learned something, you got your interested, you like the Kamala Harris blip. I didn't show you the whole clip. And same thing for Identity Politics. I didn't show you all of it. If you want to check them out, the links will be down there. And this channel supports several things. One of them is Wounded Warriors. There's a donation from this channel every single month for Wounded Warriors. Support Epic Times. These are being banned on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff like that. I know Facebook. It's just another news source. You don't have to listen to them. If you don't listen to other points of view, you're narrow-minded. Okay? Wounded Warrior, Epic Times. The scholarships that I mentioned when I first started here. North Canton Hoover High School Citizenship, Bill Moore Scholarship. Eau Gallie High Scholarship, yet to be named. Check those out. There will be those scholarships for the end of the year. And remember, I said this before. Okay, here's my fun hat. I have many nationalities. Okay, American by birth, Marine by choice. I have some Irish blood, O Dempsey or Dempsey. I don't have any hat for being a German because my last name is German. I do have some English. I don't have a hat for English. I do have a little bit of Viking in it with the Norse here. I know this is not exactly true, but I bought it because I thought it was cool and I wore it in my costumes. So I may stick a couple pictures of some of my costumes just to show how weird I was when I was teaching. But basically, that's it. Like, share, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it. I feel much better. The next one will be the Rothschilds. I'm not going to tell you anything past that. This will come out later today. And then probably in the next 24 or 36 hours after that, I will cover the Rothschilds. If you're into banking and money and you work at a bank, you know who the Rothschilds are. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about there. There'll be a tiny bit of that in that video. The conspiracy theories about Rothschilds will mainly be covered in another show. But basically, I wanted to show how they affected the entire planet of Earth, Western, Eastern, Middle East, all over the planet when it comes to money. Okay, I'm not going to tell you too much. And they are extremely wealthy back in the 18th and 19th century. Lately, they're not as much as they used to, but I'll stop talking because it's a very interesting show. That may be a show that's 35 to 40 minutes long. I have all kinds of information on the Rothschilds. And I got some really unbelievable quotes for you. I got some really unbelievable pictures of their mansions and things like that. I may just put videos out there because I don't want to get a copyright claim. So that's why I'm doing a lot of talking. Okay, like, share, and subscribe. I enjoyed this video. I feel pretty positive about it. And within like 24, 36 hours, the Rothschilds. We'll see you soon. Support those scholarships.